Welcome to Here's Why. I'm Jimmy Talbert. I'm joined by my friend Dom Fawcett, who's an executive coach and leadership speaker. And today we're going to be talking about public speaking and how to overcome any fears and trepidations associated with public speaking. And Dom's going to be shedding on us some tips and tricks to make us all better public speakers. So, Dom, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and sort of how you came to being a public speaker and executive coach and coaching others on their public speaking.
Definitely.
All right.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that. We've done this before. Not this topic, but yeah, let's drop some knowledge bombs on speaking. High level overview. Ex-cop, prior military. Right? Those are jobs that require you to have some sort of voice. Right? I was K-9 in the military, and I don't know if you've noticed, but dogs require like very specific, exact, repetitive commands. But humans require the exact same thing. So as a speaker, if you're speaking to an audience, you need to repeat what you're going to say. There's got to be clarity there, and you have to be able to engage them, showing, I call it command presence. Speaking is one of those things that, we're not going to call it public speaking. Well, you may. I don't, and this is the reason why. When people hear public speaking, they stop breathing.
Okay.
But we public speak all the time. Right now, this is public speaking.
Absolutely.
So as a speaker's coach, whether I'm coaching you to be on radio, say you have a news interview coming up, or on TV, again, another news interview, or you're going to be on stage, right? There's different variations of speaking. There's some platforms like a podcast, you can be a little bit more longer-winded, but it's not just speaking. It's what the heck are you saying? Is it sticking with your audience? Do you know why you're speaking to the audience that you're speaking to? And being able to be exact, and I don't know why I'm snapping, but being able to, that's a drill instructor in me.
Yeah.
Being able to be exact with everything that comes out of your mouth.
Okay, so being precise.
Mm-hmm. All
right, and obviously you have the experience in public speaking, in radio now, in being in the military, being a police officer. Give me kind of 3 must-dos that you'd recommend for anyone who wants to improve their, and I know you don't like it public speaking, but that's what I'm going to say.
Yes, I'm okay with
their
that.
Public speaking or who wants to improve their presentation skills in general.
People ask me this question all of the time. How do I become a better speaker? Simple answer, videos. Do a 60-second video on Instagram a day. People, let's break down the reasons why. And I know you said 3 do's. We just covered 1, but
you can cover as many as you want, really. The 3 was just a number that I
Well, no, I like 3.
So, okay.
But I feel forced to provide an explanation as to why people are uncomfortable speaking. They're uncomfortable with how they look, right? You don't like the sound of your voice. You don't like being judged. Who does like being judged? Personally, I don't know anybody that likes being judged. So these are things that cause anxiety, right? And when I say anxiety, you shortness of breath. You lose all the saliva out of your mouth. And if you're one of those people, or you feel everything shake, maybe an eye twitch or your leg twitches, and you think everybody sees this, well, there's no better place to do it than a free space like use Instagram. And I started doing videos on Instagram in the corporate space just for my employees so I can give them leadership videos, quick little tidbits. I called them 60 Seconds to Success. And what I found was every time I would do videos, I would get better and better. And I found my range of voice. I found what works for me from an introduction perspective. So when I say introduction, every time you speak, whether you're on stage, right, you're on radio, podcast, TV, you want to remind your audience who you are. And the kind of the way I shape mine is, welcome to Think, React, Lead. I'm Dom Fawcett, executive coach and leadership speaker, right? That's how I start all of my videos. That's how I end all of my videos, because people, after about the 100th or 500th video, they start to retain this information. If you're on radio, you want to remind your audience, or a podcast, in the middle of your talking, hey, if you're just tuning in, again, this is Think, React, Lead. I'm your host, Dom Fawcett, executive coach and leadership speaker. And if you hear the inflection in my voice, that you guarantee that you capture the moment, the person that you're talking to. What are some? Let me go to the second.
So what you're telling me is that's not necessarily part of the way that you always. And I know this because I've talked to you outside of when we're not on camera. But that's not the way that you're always talking. You're not always way up and way down, right? that's the way that you're talking very intentionally when you're either on radio or on camera to captivate people and to have the voice inflection, have the impact, keep them engaged.
Well, you know what's funny that you bring that up? Not funny, kind of funny, but we banter back and forth, right? But we have a lot of inflection in our voice,
right?
Like we'll start a joke, but we end a joke like almost suggesting that I don't want anybody to hear this. But it's the same thing. Comedians do this all the time. Look at a comedian they come on stage. Within 20 to 30 seconds, they better make their audience laugh.
Absolutely.
You need to engage your audience. If you're on stage, you want to make them smile, laugh, and think. Mm-hmm. That's the rhythm that I use when I'm speaking. And we can go into body language, eye contact. Too much eye contact gets weird. So as I stated, a do was do videos. That's how you get comfortable. For Jimmy's sake, public speaking. Number 2, put yourself in positions to speak. Interview. If you don't speak well there, you don't get the job, right? I have never lost an interview. Had a lot of interviews. Every interview I've had, I've always gotten the job. But it's the ability to speak. Every single one.
That's impressive.
And I've had a lot of jobs. I mean, being military and an ex-cop.
Sure. Yeah.
My dashing good looks definitely helps. But it's really understanding why you're speaking. Some people talk too much. Says the guy that's talking a lot right now.
Yeah.
But anyways.
I was thinking that.
Well, you'll never learn anything that's come out of your mouth. So put yourself in a networking environment. That's not a place to speak. The goal to this style of communication is listen. And then are you adding value when you do speak? So I would say a second do would be know what the heck you're going to say. A lot of people drag on and they lose the attention of their audience. For example, say you're just starting a podcast. Don't do a 30-minute podcast.
Right.
If that's not your jam.
That's intense.
It is. Start with 7 minutes. That's totally fine. And I'm going to say the third do is videos. And this is another reason why. When I started doing videos, I did 60 seconds. And after about 70, 80 videos in, my body knew what a minute was. So when I did my first television interview, which we think is everybody's friendly. No, my first one, like I go to this news station, they grab me, throw this mic on me, sit me down. The lady didn't even know my name. And next thing I hear, 10, 9, 8, 5, 4, all right, go live. And I'm like, oh, shoot. Like, it was an awkward video. I didn't know what to say. But then as I started doing my videos, and they're 3 minutes long. 3 minutes if they don't like you, 6 if they do. Like, that's still a short amount of time.
Right.
So understand that when you, in normal communication, you're out and about, grocery store, gas station, make it a point to engage other people verbally. And you'll start to practice. Or you can join a Toastmasters. Go to Toastmasters.org. Not my company. It's a free place to go where people teach you how to speak. Mm-hmm. So those are the 3 do's.
Okay, yeah, and I think I've shared this story with you before, but when you said that, it made me think of it. So if you don't mind,
no, what's the story?
So years ago, probably 6-7 years ago, it doesn't matter, but started doing a lot of webinars with the company that I was at.
Yes, you did.
And when I started doing them, and we were doing like 3 or 4 a week, right? And these were 45-minute webinars.
Yep.
So when I started doing them, because of kind of the energy that it took and the nervousness and everything.
Wears you out, doesn't it?
I had it 100% did. Anytime I'd have one in the afternoon, I had to go home afterwards.
Take a nap. Take a nap.
Yeah, I was done. I could do one in the morning, and I was usually fine. But yeah, do one in the afternoon when I'm already tired. It was a lot of work. And so then, but when I started doing them, I had to have another person in there on the webinar with me and someone else manning the chat, right? So 3 of us to operate this thing, just because another person, so that I could say, I could go and kind of point over at them, and then they could.
It's an audience.
Yes, tee them up for something, so then they could talk too,
right,
for a while, and give me a little rest, and I didn't have to worry about what was on the chat because there's no way I could have kept my thoughts straight. But then over time with doing them, so after maybe 6 months, I was able to drop the other person. Okay. And then after about a year of doing it, I didn't need someone running the chat.
It's a one-man show.
And it was a one-man show, and I'm running a webinar with, 300 to 500 people on there at times. And I'm doing the chat. I'm presenting all the content and flying through it.
Correct.
And it worked very well. But it was the The reps.
Reps.
Doing it. It's just over and over and over again and getting way outside of my comfort zone to be able to do that.
Speaking is not natural. Granted, we've been doing it since we were 2. If you're slow, 3. If you're real slow, 4. But we've been doing it for a long time.
Right.
And people, they'll do reps with pull-ups. They'll do reps with push-ups. They'll do reps with so many other things. But they think they can just get on stage and go, or get on a podcast and go. And what happens, and you mentioned the draw of energy it takes. When you know you're about to do a podcast or a radio show or TV or speak to an audience, those nerves drain you. And then to fight that drain or the energy loss, you're on.
Right.
Hi, I'm right. You do that thing. A lot of people do that, but then past the introduction, you don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Because you're using a different part of your brain. And the focus now is not the words coming out of your mouth. Is, oh my gosh, who's listening? And you mentioned it. You needed somebody else in the room, because talking to yourself, you know what? I do it very well. It shouldn't be that easy. For normal people, it's not easy.
It's definitely not.
But the way I made it easy was by staying in my lane. So I only talked in the beginning leadership. I only read leadership books. I only watched leadership videos. My job was a leadership position. So my life evolved around everything that I spoke. And I know, as a speaker, everybody's a speaker. If you only talk what you know, you'll never run out of content.
Absolutely. And that kind of leads into the next question. You covered part of this with just handling the reps, right? But because so many people have these insecurities and they're always nervous about it, do you have any tips that you can give people to just kind of overcome that, or to things that maybe you do before you speak every time? I worked with a guy at the last company, and before he would go on stage, every time he did it was like
he had a ritual.
A ritual.
Like a baseball player.
I was trying to think of the word.
Like a baseball player.
Yeah, where he'd breathe a certain way.
Right.
It was kind of a little weird the first time I saw it. And,
it's weird the third time you see it.
But he was killing it
Right.
every time he went on
okay.
stage. So do you have anything like that? Do you have any recommendations on how people develop that sort of thing? Or
I don't have a ritual. And let me just kind of dive into the subconscious if I can.
Sure.
My mission in life is to change one life every day for the rest of my life. My gift is my voice, not from singing, but just from speaking. So I use my voice on my podcast, on my radio show. I can go down a list of things, but everything that I do is in a direct alignment with what I'm purposed to do. So now I don't get nervous. I think people get nervous because they don't have a foundation that they started on. They get nervous because they're comparing themselves to how they looked years ago. For example, with coaching clients I've had for speaking, women, I don't coach 18-year-olds, but as I've heard them tell me, their best look was 18 to like 24. 3 kids later, a marriage, now you're 42.
See, I'm thinking this is as good as I've ever looked.
Oh, yeah, that's how guys think. We look in the mirror and all we see is sexy, right? But it's being judged. And really, nobody judges us as much as we judge ourselves.
Sure.
So when you get comfortable seeing yourself on social media, and then you see the comments, the positive comments based off the information you're disseminating, word of the day, next to your trepidatious, but next to those words that are coming out of your mouth and the passion, that starts to build your confidence. It builds your credibility in the subject that you're talking about. If you're going to do a video, and just a side note, use your camera, take a Post-it note, write 3 topics you're going to talk on. You could read a paragraph, a chapter in a book, take 3 highlights, put those 3 highlights on a Post-it note, put that Post-it note over the video of the phone, obviously not the camera. Speak to the camera and you're reading. You just say, welcome to the name of your company. I am your name, what it is you do. Today we're going to talk about point 1, 2, 3. Talk about them. You wrap it up. Hey, thank you again for watching Think, React, Lead. Once again, I'm your host, Dom Fawcett, executive coach and leadership speaker. Talk to you soon. Right? That's a way that you can start. You sandwich your video. 60 seconds, gone. But to get comfortable with speaking, you have to first start by getting comfortable with your message, with who you are. And as long as you're staying in your lane, you're never going to get, for lack of better words, haters. Like I've never had anybody comment one. Thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people have seen my stuff. The one time I do a video in my truck, no seatbelt, guy gives me the business on social media.
Sure,
but that's one, and it wasn't what I was saying.
Right. So nothing to do with that.
Nothing, which is totally fine. So just stay. I would say stay in your lane, and then reps. Just like you. I don't mean to hit you, but
you're wearing your seatbelt now, though, right?
I as often as I can. I feel invincible. I ride a motorcycle at 150 miles an hour on the track. So, anyways, that's a whole nother conversation for another day.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, you riled me up just now. Okay.
No. The former cop in you.
That's exactly how the conversation started. You're a former cop. You should know better. Like I'm not committing a crime. Anyways,
moving on.
I digress.
So you work with a lot of clients as a speaking coach as well. And so when should someone hire a speaking coach? Is it just for people who want to be professional speakers? Or are there other times where that would be relevant?
All right. So there's two times this happens. There's when somebody should hire a speakers coach, and when somebody does. I usually get when somebody does hire them. I will get clients that have followed me on social media, and they'll have a speaking engagement tomorrow. They call me, or they're on the news tomorrow. They'll call me. And yeah, I do the coaching, get them comfortable, tell them what to say, and it works. I'm very good at what I do. But you should hire a speakers coach because it's not just about speaking. Understanding that if you want to have a business, like I have a business in speaking, like my speaking is a revenue generating source.
Sure.
Versus getting on radio or saying the right things on TV, right? You have to differentiate what those are. A lot of, let's call them professional speakers, new to the game, even people who've been in it for 5 years, they get on stage and they just like to hear themselves talk. The audience that they stand in front of validates them. But then 3 years later, they're out of business because they haven't made any money.
Right.
So understanding that speaker coaching is not just getting you comfortable on stage, but it's really breaking down the process in how you say it, when you say it, and then why you say it. Because you should be able to sell something while you're speaking.
Dialing in your message to actually be persuasive and be engaging.
Learning how to tell stories.
The group that learning how storytelling is a huge part of that.
A lot of people either don't tell stories or they mess up with the story. We live in an era where everybody thinks it's very cool to be vulnerable and authentic. Okay, some people give way too much vulnerability way up front. And I have seen people on stage and they'll start with, when I was 5, this happened to me. And then I started drinking and doing, like, that is way too much information. I'm not going to buy anything from you. Yes, it's a sad story, but sad stories don't sell. Piece of a sad story.
I was a little bit entertained, but
that's it. It stops there.
Yeah.
And honestly, I did that. All of my stories were very like, man, this dude's a hard charger. Like he's been through some things. But then my bank account was dwindling. So you have to know your message, but then understand it's a business. And a business can only run with money. I was gonna say monetaries. I don't know why I was gonna go that route.
I don't know either.
It got weird for like a real quick moment.
Just for a second.
Anyways, let's move forward.
All right, so you're saying the things that you coach on, and people typically should be hiring someone or working with someone, at least working on these skills way before they need it.
Yes, whether it's interview coaching, whether it's to me, because I'm passionate about it, everything is speaking.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's a first date, right? How many times have guys messed up on a first date? Like not us. Right? It's hard for us to mess up on a first date. But whether it's an interview, right? Whether it's a actual speaking engagement, whether it's a delivery at work, and I say radio, so anything audible, anything visual, there's just so many things to say. And again, if you're just tuning in, Dom Fawcett, Jimmy Talbert, you can find me at domfawcett.com. Jimmy Talbert at Why Not Results.
WhyNotResults.com.
Yep.
So, you've given us some incredible tips. I appreciate that.
Of course.
Always a pleasure. Is there any last words that you'd want to share with people as far as what they should or should not be doing to improve their public speaking?
Thank you for running that in. Don't feel that you have to speak. And when I say you don't have to speak, you may want to do videos. Maybe now the season's not for you to do videos. You might want to be on a radio or podcast to move your brand. Don't feel that you have to do it just because everybody else is doing it. You want to do it when you're comfortable doing it. And until you're comfortable in self, you'll never be comfortable doing it. I used to err on the side of just embrace the suck and move forward.
Right.
Well, that works for me. It doesn't work for everybody.
Sure.
So do things that put a smile on your face, that get you comfortable. And if you feel you might need a slight push or some training, contact me at domfawcett.com. But don't feel obligated to make that move to the podcast, to the TV, to the radio. Get comfortable in your own skin, then do that. And when you do it, start with doing videos on, I'd say, any social media platform.
And it always helps when you're doing something that you're passionate about, right?
Totally true.
And
true.
That's something that's easy to talk about for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. So
real quick,
yeah,
if you're uncomfortable with doing it in front of videos, talk to your stuffed animals. I don't care how grown you are, if you have them, that's totally cool. Or you can talk to your animal. Right? I got real good at speaking because I would get deployed with my K9 Clint, and I had a dog in the military. And you sit there for 18, 20 hours in the middle of the desert by yourself like you're going to talk to your dog. Mm-hmm. And I just got better at it. This is obviously I was 19, but talk to your animals. Don't talk to your kids because they judge. It will shut you down.
All right. Well, yeah, excellent advice. So thank you again for everything. And this is another episode of Here's Why. We got Dom Fawcett and Jimmy Talbert. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you next time.
Ciao.